So here are some of the images I took over the last 3 years. I'm not really sure which area I'm going to lean towards the most. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy doing fashion photography. I'm not very fond of weddings, but that's where you can make the most money. And I enjoy travel photography, and I've actually participated in several art fairs and festivals throughout Florida, Illinois, and Texas. The first step I think in improving making a good image better would be the framing, the crop, and the straightening of the image. So on the left side of each of the next few slides, you'll see the before shot and then the after shot. So on the left side, if you look at the peak of the building here and this line here, you can see that it's a little uneven. And with most photo editing tools, it's very simple to kind of straighten things out and not give the photo that looked like, oh, it's been photoshopped. Actually, the finished product still looks like an authentic photo that I took. The second step is the exposure of the image. That's where you measure the light that comes into the camera. So the image on the far left is what we would call underexposed. So in the dark areas, which is the tree line here, you can see where the blue shading comes in when I adjusted the slider. You can also see how the clouds almost look too dark. On the very right side is where the lights part of the image is overexposed, so it's too bright, so you can see the tree line here. It looks very much like it could be a lighter green, and then the clouds here are too white, which is why this red marker came into play. And then in the middle is a perfectly exposed image where the tree line isn't too dark, the clouds aren't too bright, and at the top here the sky is a very nice color. You can still see some of the reflection of the sunset, even though the sun's not visible in the picture. With contrast, I'm sure many of you know about contrast from just watching TV. The better contrast, the sharper and clearer the images are. So this was taken in London a few years ago, and this is the original image where it's pretty flat, and then when you adjust the contrast, it moves the lights and the darks in the image, so you get a sharper, clearer picture. And speaking of, another option to improve an image would be the white balance. Now this tool isn't really used very much in free software, but you can do things if you're using like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can use those tools to add a filter which can adjust the white balance. So in the image to the left, you can see that there's like a purple haze that's coming from the sun, and it kind of mutes the greens here. It darkens the greens. And on the right side, when I adjusted the white balance from the natural camera setting to daylight, you can see that the grass looks crisper, the water doesn't have the purple haze, and the picture overall looks a little better. Another great resource you can use in any program is changing a color photo to black and white image. And I know this toolbar here probably looks a little confusing, but basically we just desaturated the image, sharpened the image, and increased the darks in the image to make the darker areas pop more in the photo. So you can tell that's where there's actually color. One of the most basic tools would be the sharpening image, and that's where you increase contrast as well as increase the lights and darks of an image all at the same time, and this can be done automatically with a click of a button, which I'll demonstrate momentarily. Increasing and sharpening also increases details, but in addition to detail, as you can see, there are some spots in the original image from the camera lens being dirty or some dust inside the camera, so I just removed those spots later on, so that small detail vastly improves the image. Depending on what type of camera you have, and what you plan to do with the pictures, whether it's posting them online or printing them out, will determine how you would want to size what size you would want for your picture. So initially, the camera I use, the images come out to where you can print them like 12 feet by 9 feet, almost like a large poster or a small billboard. So if you try to upload that image to Facebook, they probably won't accept it because it's so large. So resizing the image is another great way to maximize the potential of your photo. And then lastly, with retouching, I know there's a lot of controversy in like the fashion world and magazines and catalogs where the models are over retouched. But on the left side, you can see the original image. And I personally think that looks great, but if you're working with the client, they want you to make the model look perfect or almost unrealistic. And so this middle image is kind of an unrealistic look where the skin is so smooth you can barely see the texture in it. And then on the right side, I kind of toned the skin down a bit so it could look more natural. You can actually see my reflection in her eyelid there. But overall, I think this type of look is more natural, and this is what I go for when I'm doing like high school senior photography and some fashion photography where they don't want the client doesn't want the image to be over photoshopped or have that unnatural, unrealistic look. And then the last thing is you have to enjoy your work. I know a lot of photographers spend too much time working on their images where they can spend like 10 even 10 hours to 24 hours just editing one image. And so these are just a couple of images I took, and I didn't spend too much time on it. I think they came out pretty well. This is probably one of my best-selling images when I was doing the fine art festivals. I was in Lake Como, Italy, and I stumbled upon a couple getting married, and so I went into the church, and I didn't speak the language, so they didn't seem to have any issues with me taking pictures. And then they had this very cool Volkswagen bus that they drove around the island after the ceremony. And so some of the images I have actually caught the photographer who's sitting here like flashing pictures and the couple smiling a lot. And so I'm just gonna basically go through a few programs or tools that you can use to quickly edit images. This is the USF College of Nursing, one of my favorite buildings on the campus. This picture on the far right was the Chicago Marathon this year. And I'm actually going to use this image of the garden to demonstrate how to quickly edit photos. So in Photoshop, it's the most powerful photo editing tool. It also is somewhat expensive depending on who you ask. But in any of the Adobe programs, whether you have Photoshop, Lightroom, or Photoshop Elements, they have the automatic image adjustment panel where you can just click, and if you wanted to auto tone, auto contrast, or auto color, it will automatically make those adjustments for you. And so what I'll do is just so auto tone. Let me restart here. Okay, so then we'll do auto tone. So as you can see, by changing the tone, the picture went from kind of a darker color to a lighter color. So let's do that again, auto tone. So depending on what you plan to use with the image, I mean a couple of clicks and you can adjust the tone, and then for contrast, it doesn't do much because the picture was well taken, I guess. And then auto color, that's interesting. Let's see. The color. I actually like this better than the original. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's using Photoshop. Let me close this one out. And then there's a free software program by ON1, which is called Perfect Effects. It's part of their Perfect Photo Suite. And for this software program, they allow you to add filters, which is what everyone does with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Pretty much any application now that where you can import a photo will let you edit it right there on the spot, because that's the society we live in today, where everyone wants to be able to edit their photos without being a photographer or hiring a photographer or a photo retoucher. So with Perfect Photo Suite, once it finishes loading, I'll quickly show you some of the very simple tools they have where you can adjust the photo in less than a minute. And so they list their effects on the side, so let me move that over. So if you wanted to change this image to black and white, you can click black and white normal, and then it'll give you a variety of templates to use, and then also give you a preview of how the image would look. So I'll click simply black and white, and it'll convert the image to exactly what's on the screen. And so let me delete that. And then, for example, if you wanted to make it grainy like it was taken on film, like using actual film, you can add grain, and it'll give the image, even though it was a digital image, that film look to it. And then to sharpen the image, they do have tools where you can sharpen. So one of the tools I use in Photoshop is high pass sharpen. So if you do that, you can see the image get sharper very quickly. If you focus here, you'll see these flowers become crisper and sharper. And so, like I said, this program is called Perfect Effects 3 by ON1 Software, and it's a free download if you go to their website, and you can play around with the images. And then lastly, a program everyone uses, Microsoft Word, if you're using Windows, allows you to edit pictures as well. Let's open the picture tools here. And so the first thing I mentioned was the crop. So you can crop your image in Microsoft Word. If you only wanted to say, use this portion of the image. And then they have an auto correction button as well, where you can sharpen, brighten, contrast. So if I wanted to make the image very bright, very overexposed, I should say, you can do that. And then they also have the artistic effect, so you can also convert it to an oil painting if you wanted to do so.